This is going to be a very different video from any of the other videos I've made. Let's talk about how I became a freelance colorist at 24. If you don't know who I am, my name is Graham Hunt and I'm a freelance colorist based here in Cape Town, South Africa, and I work on everything from TV commercials to documentaries and have worked with some incredible global brands, and it's been a great journey. This video is basically talking you through how I got to where I am now and possibly where I'd like to go in the future. But I was very, very fortunate to be able to basically make a living being a freelance colorist at the age of 24, or basically that was kind of like the beginning of that stage of my life. So this all started somewhere back in 2013, 2014. I started taking photos with some friends at the beach on GoPros, and this is where I started to learn about light and a little bit about color, but mostly I was just having a lot of fun with my friends taking photos. But what really sparked in me is this love for, I guess, creative storytelling and expressing myself through a camera, and I really enjoyed it. Fast forward a year or two, I then got a camera and started taking photos of models and things like that, mostly just for fun with some friends. And I had some friends that were kind of pursuing this as a career at the time, and I learned a lot from them. Basically how to use light, just about color editing within Lightroom for photography and all those kind of things. But I really started to express myself a little bit more when it came to color, when it came to photography, and just being behind the camera was what I really enjoyed. I had a short music career, very short music career, and basically left all of this behind. But coming out of that, I got my hands into video, and this is where I started playing around with Premiere Pro. I learned about video editing, I learned about lighting, a lot more about lighting at least, but still very minimal. And I mean, I was basically working for some organizations that needed some interviews shot and had some friends that were teaching me how to do this, but it was all at the very foundational level. So even color grading, I was basically doing what I was doing in Lightroom, but on Premiere and using lights. That was as much as I knew about color grading at the time. But I remember adding a LUT the one day and saw how much that changed my image. And all of a sudden it took it from this random video to looking like, at least to me, it looked like something that was in the movies. It was closer at least, and that blew my mind. And I can remember that feeling of wanting to have that feeling more often. So I spent a little bit more time playing around with LUTs, but I really never got into it. But I'm going to fast forward even further. And at this point in my life, I basically had a few clients here and there, mostly corporate videos, wedding videos, those kind of things. And I still really wasn't doing much color grading. But I needed something free that I could edit on because I didn't have access to Adobe anymore. And so somebody mentioned DaVinci Resolve. They said it's free, and I was like, there's no way this is going to be good, but let me use it because I'm desperate and I'm the person that needs something free. So I started looking into DaVinci Resolve, played around with it a little bit, and I realized that this thing is super powerful. I had a look on their website. I realized that they use it for color, and at that point, I don't think I even knew that there was a job role as a colorist. I didn't think that that was something that people actually did as a full-time career. I just had no clue. I had no idea that there was a whole process that goes on, which is all about color grading. I thought it was just something that you do as you go. Like this clip, you do a little bit, you add a LUT to an adjustment layer. That was my understanding of color grading. So when I opened DaVinci Resolve and I got into the editing, I obviously realized that this is a super powerful platform and software, and I wanted to know more about it. And I clicked on that color page, and it generally felt as if my brain collapsed. I couldn't understand what I was seeing because I'd never seen anything like this before. This was before DaVinci Resolve was like really popular. I'd never seen those color wheels before. I'd never seen any of it. I was trying to make sense of it as if it was Premiere Pro, and it made no sense at all. And so I was kind of just like, what is this? I'll never be able to understand this, but also really intrigued to know more. And so I basically just did this huge deep dive into trying to understand DaVinci Resolve and all it had to offer. And obviously I then learned so much about the color page, but nodes and the node editor, that had blown my mind. But all of this to say, this had sparked something in me, and this love for color and this intrigue, this wanting to understand and wanting to know more and wanting to know more about the technicalities behind it as well. And so I then went on this long journey of trying to understand DaVinci Resolve, and I'm still on that journey right now. But obviously I didn't have the work to support actually color grading and doing all of that kind of stuff. So I was just doing it as a value add. But again, I knew nothing. At that time, I was living in a very, very small room. I was working and living in a very small room in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. I was living with a couple mates, and I was just doing some small jobs on the side and trying to make a living by doing that. Eventually, I moved out and started a business where I was basically just doing corporate videos and wedding videos and those kind of things, just anything that I could do. I got into some fashion videos, which was really fun, and just took all of these videos. So I was shooting, I was lighting, I was also being like a lighting assistant, sometimes a second camera operator on shoots. But in Durban at that time, the industry was really, really, really small. There wasn't a lot going on, and there definitely wasn't any work for a colorist based in Durban, at least for local jobs. But thankfully, I met somebody who lived in Durban and was a filmmaker in Durban and had been for a very long time. And he knew all about DaVinci Resolve. In fact, he was not necessarily a colorist, but he had done a lot of color work over the years. This guy eventually became one of my closest friends and still is, and is just an absolute legend. His name's Dylan Marriott. Go check him out. There's all of his details will be in the description. But he's a director of photography and an editor and incredible and is award winning. But I'm so grateful that I got to meet him, because meeting him was kind of a turning point in my career. He taught me so much about filmmaking, about color, about lighting, about editing, that really was a turning point in my career, as I said. But the great thing about this is that he had a cool color suite and edit suite. So he had color panels, he had like a calibrated monitor that was dedicated. He had a proper system. Meanwhile, I just had like a cheap gaming laptop with a 6-bit screen that I'd been trying to color grade on. He had, you know, all the really, really cool tools. And so meeting him was quite an impactful moment in my life, because I got to play around with all of these tools. He taught me so much, and obviously I had seen all of this stuff online and on YouTube, and I'd watched hundreds of videos, but now I could actually try those things out. So I worked on a couple projects with him at the time, and I got to try out some of these tools on those projects. And he taught me a lot about color grading and really sort of pushed me deeper into the rabbit hole of learning about color grading. I never got the opportunity to go and work at a post-production house and learn from a senior colorist, or, you know, work myself up the chain or up the ladder, as some people have and some people would and some people should. But I managed to find these people and lean on these people who had experience and could help me learn more, and basically just open up another world of color grading that I could learn more and more and more. And I'm telling you all of this backstory not only so that you can get to know me a little bit better, but also hopefully to encourage you, because I didn't go to film school. I didn't go and work at a post-production house for years and work my way up a ladder. I've never really been at film school. I've never studied. Basically, this was all just my own learning. And I'm not trying to say this to brag or anything like that, because I'm in no place to be bragging, but more just to hopefully encourage people out there that are very similar to me. Maybe you're feeling discouraged because it's impossible. I remember right in the beginning, when I first discovered DaVinci Resolve and dove into it, a friend of mine who was in the industry and doing stuff, he had also kind of gotten to know DaVinci Resolve. And I said to him, dude, one day I want to be a professional colorist. And this was like, I just now known that was a thing. And I remember him like chuckling. And it's not because he didn't believe that was something I could do, but because it was so bizarre at the time. It was so far-fetched for where we were. And to be honest, this was 5 years ago, which is not a long period of time. I'm 27 now, so that was when I was 22. And, you know, from when I was 22 up until when I was 24, when I started to get my own like freelance colorist jobs, there's so much that changed, but also not that much. I basically just try to learn as much and practice every single day, and reached out to people for help. I reached out to as many people as I can to just basically bounce things off of them. So now that you know the whole backstory, let's talk about when I actually got my first job as a colorist. So I was working on a set of a TV commercial or some kind of online commercial, and I was just a DIT or a digital imaging technician essentially. But in Durban, it's a much smaller industry, so that is a very loose term. I was just basically a media wrangler, taking the cards from the cameras and then just backing them up and then giving them clean cards and making sure everything was set up properly. And then, doing a bit of revisions here and there with the DOP so that he could see if he was happy. But I had like a MacBook Pro that I had borrowed from somebody because I didn't want to bring my horrible cheap gaming laptop onto the set. And I sat there and was super, super, super bored. So obviously I started color grading. So I brought the footage in and was color grading while I was copying in the background. And I was just having a good time, just like doing it for myself. I didn't think anyone was going to see. In walks the DOP, who's now a really good friend of mine, Ruan Kotza. Also go check him out. Brilliant guy, amazing guy. But he walks in and he's super Afrikaans. He's just like this very lovable guy. But he walks in and he goes, "Geez, bro, what have you, did you just do this here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I haven't really left the room." And he was obviously looking at the color grade that I'd done, which I was just playing around with. And he couldn't believe that I had done it in that room in that short period of time. For him, it's always sent out to a colorist who then plays around with it later and obviously color grades it very professionally and whatnot. And he actually never gets any say in it. So he was looking at this going, "Wow, this is incredible. How did you do this right now on a little computer?" And I was like, "Man, this is just like what I know." And so we went through a whole bunch of the clips and he was dumbfounded. And for me, I was just like, "Man, I'm just playing around. I didn't think anything of it." And he was like, "Bro, this is really, really good. Do you do this? Like, is this what you do?" And I was like, "Well, it's something I'd love to do, but it's not something that I'm doing at the moment." And he was like, "Bro, one day I want to work with you. If I could work with you all the time, I would do it." 5 months down the line, he brought me my first paid colorist job. And this was when I was 24. And it was a documentary. Really, really cool. I'll show you some of these images. But he shoots really beautiful images. And he was using a Blackmagic 4K. And it was great, high quality footage. So props to him for making that documentary so, so stunning. But he also gave me the creative freedom to just explore what I wanted to do. So I brought all the images in, obviously, and color graded it on my little cheap gaming laptop with a 6-bit screen, and that was sent to wherever it was played. I think it was played somewhere in America and all over, which was really, really cool. It was for an amazing organization, and I really, really enjoyed that project. But that was my first paid colorist gig. And from then, Ruan and I have worked on a lot of projects together, from these, small budget, I mean, I wasn't paid much on that job, small budget documentaries that have a really great story and are impactful, to very high-end TV commercials, which has been really amazing having had that relationship with him. So thank you, Ruan. So moral of that story is, don't despise where you are. If you're at a point where you're color grading on a small little gaming laptop or some small thing, or you're doing some small job like basically media wrangling on a set, don't despise where you are, because you never know. There might be somebody that you meet and you build a good relationship with that person, and eventually they bring you work that gets you to where you want to be. But from that point on, I started doing more and more of these paid color jobs, some with Ruan, some with other people. But because he had sent me these projects, I had now some color work to actually share. And so I started creating more and more posts so that I could share, and basically just use stock footage and color graded them and then shared them, and started getting more and more work. And it wasn't like anything crazy. I never could make like a proper living off of it. I still had to take a lot of jobs, and probably up until now, I still have taken a lot of jobs that I don't really want to do. Some of them like filming random events or whatever it might be to make ends meet. But now I'm at a point where I'm able to actually make a living just doing color work as a freelancer. Again, I've never worked in a post-production house. However, I'm doing jobs with huge production houses that are like international, and I'm so grateful. Again, I'm not putting anything on myself here. It's not a brag. I can't believe that I am where I am, and I'm grateful for the people that have been in my life who have helped me get to where I am. It's more props to them than it is props to me. I just really enjoy what I do, and I really enjoy where I am and the people that I kind of get to do this work with. But going back a little bit, Ruan brought me those jobs. I started doing more work with him. Eventually, I decided that me and my wife we decided that we were going to move to Cape Town. Cape Town in South Africa is basically where the film industry lives. It's Joburg and Cape Town. And so my wife and I decided it was a good idea. We packed up our lives. We moved to Cape Town. We had no prospects here. We had no work here. She had a job that thankfully she could work remotely. But I had no clients. I had nothing down this side. But we moved this side because we knew it was going to be the best move overall for my career. And I'm just so grateful for her being so keen to do something like that. I mean, uproot your whole life. But again, it all comes down to all these people that have been in my life, that have been so amazing to allow me to get to where I am. So again, what I'm trying to say here is don't despise where you're at. Don't despise the people in your life because you feel as if you might not be going anywhere. Just nurture those relationships, be a good person and work with those people and really love what you're doing. And I promise you, at some point, you're going to see the outcomes that you're looking for. So I started working with a lot more people here in Cape Town. They were then posting my work, and obviously it's sort of snowballed from there. It still is nothing crazy. I basically make a living wage now just being a freelance colorist. I work with some incredible international production houses who use me almost as their sole colorist. So still as a freelance capacity, I have a home studio. I don't have anything fancy in terms of a fancy suite. I have a very cheap GUI or GUI monitor, which I use basically for everything. And then I have a LG C2 OLED monitor, which I use as my reference monitor. That's way too big for my use case, but it was what I could get here in South Africa at an affordable rate. And this is basically how I work. I work on so many amazing projects at the moment. I've done about 6 Adidas campaigns. I've done about 4 ASICS campaigns. So working with global brands, and most of it's not even being shown here in South Africa. And I'm just super grateful for where I am right now. So that's kind of my backstory and how I got to where I am. Just obsessed with color and really just learning as much as I can about DaVinci Resolve. I spend so much time studying movies, trying to learn more about what makes them look good. And that's how I started color grading all of those projects and doing a little bit better. So I'm not nearly where I want to be. I definitely don't rate myself as a great colorist, but I get to work with incredible people who inspire me to be better every single project. So that's basically where I am. Where I'd want to go in the future is, I guess just working on more projects, having a lot more fun with a lot more people, and getting to learn a lot more from incredible directors and other creatives out there, which I'm doing at the moment, which is really cool. And I'd love to have a bit more of a community surrounding me within the color space. So if that's something that I'm creating, or if that's just more people that I'm meeting that are specifically colorists, it'd be so great to just be able to reach out to those people. I have a couple of people that I can speak to, obviously, and that I do speak with, but you just want to learn from as many people as you can. Color grading is something that's so specific, it's so subjective, that the more people you can chat to, the more people you can learn from, the better it is for you. So that's kind of where I am right now. I'd love to upgrade my color suite. I do have directors coming in here every now and then, but I'd love to just make it a bit more professional for all of them. I'm really grateful. It's really cool. One day I'll show you what the color suite looks like, but at some point I want to upgrade that and just keep going. But for now, what I want to do is share this stuff with you guys, share my learnings with you as I dive deeper and deeper and deeper into color, and hopefully help you guys out there, hopefully encourage other people to pursue the dreams that they have and just enjoy what they're doing. So thanks guys for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.